Hey guys, Josh here from JoshDouglasFishing.com. Today I'm out on a small local lake, mid-September. Not really quite sure, to be honest with you, what's going on out here today. They could be deep, they could be shallow. I'm going to start deep. I'm fishing main lake points. So we'll circle back. It just looks ideal. It looks like something perfect where a big bass would be. I'm going to use my Humminbird side imager along with my Lowrance unit. Try to find some deeper haunts that hopefully are holding some big fish. We're just going to have to play it from there. Start deep, move shallow, and we should have a good day today. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over some of these spots. I'm going to use my Navionics chip. I'm going to use that I can see the structure that I think holds fish. From there I'm going to look for sweet spots by using both my sonar and my side imager. To actually follow along the weed line and look for maybe hard bottom spots, turns in the weed lines. Down south it could be wood. I found that stump. It could be any different kind of structure down there is what I'm looking for. A lot of bass fishermen, when they first start out, they excel in shallow water because they can visually see the targets that it is that they're throwing at. Once you become comfortable and understand and learn how to use your equipment, you can learn to appreciate deep water. That's where a lot of your better schools of bass can be, especially in the summer months, fall months, even winter months. It's very important that when you're deep water fishing, you carry along a buoy or a couple of buoys. Once you find the structure, you can put the buoy marker directly on the structure so you have a target of what it is you're fishing, so you're more efficient when you're doing that. When you're fishing deep water, it's so easy to have it cast off by 5 feet and you're missing the structure altogether, and you're just not going to get bit doing that. So you can see here I had seen something look like a little bit of a rock pile, and I'm going to try to show that to you. Maybe it's a spine coming off of the point. I'm not quite sure what it is. And obviously the best way when you find it to know if it holds fish is to fish it. What I'm doing right now is I can feel that I'm in the rocks, and I'm just grinding that lip as hard as I can into those rocks, making this bait just ricochet. And these Navionics chips are very good about showing you the structure, but it's up to you to really find what's down there and what's holding the fish. And these are all rocks. Once you know they get real white, that shows hard bottom. I'm going to circle back around. I'm going to put my buoy right on that edge that I know where I'm casting the whole time. Fish on. We threw it. That unfortunately is part of crankbait fishing. Sometimes they're going to throw that crankbait. Sometimes when you drop a fish like we did earlier, that can really cost you in the long run. Might just have to leave the spot and come back. I like to tell on you sometimes. When you're fishing deep structure, one of my first things I like to start off with is a deep crankbait. Today I'm using a Biovex Deep Runner crankbait. This is a new bait brought out by Biovex. Biovex is based out of Japan, and they've been known for making fish on... No, that's not a fish. I'm in a rock. Sometimes when you're throwing these deep crankbaits, you can get hung up in the rocks. It's just part of the beast. You're trying to grind it into the rocks. Some of these plugs are $20 plus, and you really don't want to lose them. I'm going to show you one technique that I use to help get these baits off. You can click your spool down and grab your line here, and because they are buoyant, they want to float. Pull your line tight and flick them. Snap it. Get the bait to ricochet back and come off. Today I'm using 12-pound fluorocarbon, and fluorocarbon is really important when you're throwing these. It doesn't stretch much. With light line, this should get down to about 14, 15, 16 feet. You can put heavier line on it, 15, 16 pound tests, and maybe get down to 11 or 12. The keyest feature to the fluorocarbon is that it is invisible and it sinks, and it's going to get this bait, help this bait get down there in the lighter line. We'll just get it down to the structure quicker. When you get these crankbaits out of the box, sometimes you gotta tune them in, make sure they're running straight. It's imperative that they do run straight. Make a cast. This is a short cast. Reel in the bait and watch your line. And I can see that this bait's cutting off to the right. And to fix that little problem, all you gotta do is the line tie is the pivotal point on this deal. So I'm just gonna get this and I'm gonna just gently turn it in the opposite direction that the bait was running. So if it was running right, I'm just going to turn her just a little bit to the left. Perfect. Now when you're deciding which crankbait to use, I haven't been down on this lake in quite a while. This is down in southern Minnesota, and they've gotten a lot of rain here in recent days. The water's actually pretty cloudy, cloudier than I remember it being earlier in the year when I was here. I've chose a Fire Tiger, and I'm not quite sure if this is going to work, but this should show up a little bit better in that deeper water and help get them. When you're in clear water, you want to look at maybe your more glass colored baits, your bluegills, and then obviously if you're down in the south, shad. But we don't have shad here, a lot of bluegill, a lot of crayfish. When you're using a deep running crankbait, you want to make a long cast. And once you make a long cast, your rod's straight. You don't want to give it a lot of action, up high, up low. Just kind of aim it down and just use your reel as a winch. Start straight out until you start to feel what it is on the bottom. When you hit the cover, these baits are great at crawling over them, so you want to just grind them into the rocks. You learn to vary your retrieve a little bit. I like to start out with a constant retrieve just to get to know the structure and seeing if the fish will bite that. Once I get to know what I'm doing and I am hitting these areas, then I might switch it up a little bit, stopping the bait, speeding up my retrieve, and trying to figure out a way to trigger the bass into biting. Sometimes you can get lower. You can even kneel and reel on this just to give that bait a couple more feet down. These crankbaits are really good at activating the school and getting them excited. One more cast. Let's try. Fish on. These are what we're looking for down here. And this one is barely hooked. I think he just got the back one in him. I'm just gonna thumb spool him like that. Let him run. There ain't nowhere for him to go. That's what we're looking for. Finally, we got one of them to bite it. Just barely. Did have two of the hooks. I thought it only had one. We switched colors, made an adjustment, and these are what we're looking for right there. It's cold, it's getting cold down there. These Biovex hooks, these are good hooks they put in here, and after losing a couple right away, you can see though, they're not in a very positive mood. They're just barely nipping at these baits. We just happened to catch it on the very back. I was getting down there and it hit it at the very bottom of the tree. That's a good one though. That's a good one. That's what we're looking for right there. Yeah, you gotta get more now. You know guys, one thing I wanted to point out when I'm throwing these deep crankbaits, today I'm using a G Loomis GLX medium heavy 7-foot rod. It's got a good taper on it, but it's got a lot of backbone on it. I know a lot of guys like to use fiberglass rods when they throw crankbait, and I do too, except for when I'm up here in this north country. We have just a lot of weeds, and trying to find those sweet spots. These graphite rods are so sensitive that I can feel that a lot better. The one thing about it though is like those two fish that I had lost, I may not have ever lost that with a fiberglass rod. They just have so much give in them that the fish has got a lot more play, where I'm forced a lot of times to thumb spool. So once I get the bite and they're on and I know they're on, I'll just click over my bail and use my thumb so that they're not going nowhere. I do have more sensitivity with this. And that's what I'm looking for, especially for feeling the weeds and snapping them off. If you get on lakes and rivers where it's just all rock structure and you're just grinding it off of there, I would highly recommend that you go with a fiberglass rod. The one thing I want to point out is it is absolutely imperative when you're fishing deep structure like this. I mean, you can see how this will wear away the lip of your crankbait because you're just trying to grind that in there. You also hit rocks with your line quite a bit. And the last thing you want to do on light line, this is 12-pound fluorocarbon, is lose a 5 or 6 pound giant because you were lazy and didn't retie your line. So I'm going to do that before we get to the next spot. Fish on. Oh, that one, huh? Biovex Deep Runner. Got windy out here. Fishing in about 15 feet of water. Biovex Deep Runner, their Fire Tiger. Toss up toads like that. That's a good one, man, huh? the rock problem. We got so much water you can't see it anymore. You can't go that way.